afternoon, everyone. Can everybody online hear okay? Can we get some thumbs ups or something? Okay, thank you very much. So we do have quite a few online with us today, so we'll be checking to see if there's any questions from them. Dean Lowry is online, so she's here to assist with any questions you might have that she can help us with. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for being online. My name is Debbie White. I am the Academic Budget and Operations Manager in the School of Law. And we have two presenters today. One you are probably very familiar with, and that's Miss Nicole Smith. She is your WSBA treasurer, and she'll be presenting at the end and answering questions about the WSBA processes as far as finances go. And then we have Julie DeSarusso, and hopefully I didn't butcher her name too much. She is a part-time CPA accountant for the School of Law. We like to call her our tax queen because she's very good at knowing the ins and outs on taxes, and she'll be doing the bulk of the presentation today. She and Nicole will be kind of following on the website that Martin has pulled up. It has under current students, student orgs. On the left-hand side is financial and funding information. That's how you get to the screen that he's going to be going over. Now, yesterday I presented just a little bit, and I had 4 things that I mentioned that you need to remember. Julie will be kind of walking through those. But one thing I thought about last night, and Dean Meisinger said maybe you should expand on the first one. So I'll say just a little bit about that. So some people may not know what we mean by an itemized receipt, and Julie will hit it again when she goes through. But an itemized receipt needs to have the vendor's name, needs to list a description of each item purchased. It needs to show that you've paid for the item, or it's been, like it's been charged on a credit card. And like I said, Julie will go through that more, but maybe you'll be most familiar, like if you go out to eat, you usually get 3 or 4, receipts on your table. One you're supposed to leave there. A second one is mainly just a summary where you put the tip and you sign your name. That's not an itemized receipt. It would be the other one that lists each of the items that were ordered. So don't mean to beat a dead horse, but that's what we mean when we say an itemized receipt. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. DeSarusso to go through financial and funding.
Okay, hopefully everybody got something to eat so they're nice and sleepy now, and I'll bore you a little bit more. That'll be great. So my name is Julie DeRusso. It's a toughie, I get it. It's 12 letters, ends in an X, but I'll tell you a little mnemonic. It rhymes with Robinson Crusoe, or just call me Julie D. Or just Julie. I think I'm the only Julie in the law school. So we're going to kind of walk through what's online, and I'm going to highlight what's important. So we'll start with first, how do we get there? Well, everybody knows how to get to the current students page. If we roll down from there, you're going to see you can get to the funding information 2 ways. You can click on student organizations, and then on the left-hand side, you've got the financial funding information. That'll take you to the page. Or you can just go straight there by underneath. You'll skip the feedback and you can click there. This is the page that's kind of your guide if you forget what to do or get lost or think, I don't know if I'm following directions or what did I do wrong. So this gives our contact information for Debbie and I. And you can email us. There's a nice clickable link on my name, so you don't have to type it all in, because even I get tired of typing it in. So what we're going to talk about is, for you all, how do we get money? How do we get access to money for what we want to do for our organization? So we're going to look at, the first thing first is, where do I access money? How do I get money? You've really got 3 different ways to access money. So through the WSBA, they probably put a budget together and notified you that you've been allocated a certain amount of money for your academic year. So that is something that is done by Nicole this year. She gets that fun task, and her friends there in WSBA. So that is one way you get funding. Another way you get funding is that middle category that we're going to mainly focus on, that I'm going to focus on. That's called an agency account. So an agency account is just like a bank account that we hold here at the university. Unlike WSBA funds that are use it or lose it, agency account funds are your organization's activities, past activities that hopefully a balance has rolled forward every year. So prior people in your organizations that have done work have probably had some activities that they have a balance coming for. Some of them don't, and also the other thing is not all organizations have an agency account. A lot do, maybe I could even say most do, but not all. So you may have already gotten some information about what your account number is and how that all works, but we can get you details on what are our account balances and that kind of thing. So that chart kind of helps you, if you're a visual learner like me, kind of helps you see, okay, there's 3 ways. So the third way is the School of Law under centers or PDO may offer to sponsor one of your activities or events. So in that case, you would want to make contact with Dean Leisinger or Tammy King in the PDO, or whoever it is that you think, say oil and gas, I believe is Burke. Is that what I'm saying right? Okay. And they can either fund part or even all of your event. And then we'll show you how to do that with a form. Of course, you've got a form for that. So we want to keep in mind we've got some guidelines for all of our funding, but the 2 most important points are advance payments. So you've got something up that's got to be paid, coming up that's got to be paid for in full before the date of the event. Maybe you need to deposit on an event venue, that catering, something like that. You want to allow at least 3 weeks, and this is going to assume there's no contract. 3 weeks will give both on our side and AP's over at Morgan's side to get it all processed and the check cut, or however you want, mailed, you pick up, however you like it. What you're going to want to do in a case like that in advance is obtain a quote from the vendor, and then you can put that quote along with your payment voucher that we're going to show you a little bit how to prepare today. I want to hint briefly again, anybody that didn't make it yesterday, about contracts. So very many times for event venues, or if you have somebody who does service, I'm just going to say a DJ, and they want a contract. If it's a very simple contract, this is coming directly from Shelby Grau. If it's a very simple 1-page contract, she will need almost 3 months lead time. And that is because she has to review it. She might have to send it back to you to revise it. And then it's got to go over to general counsel over in Morgan for them to review, and that's kind of where they're a little bit of a bottleneck. So you can understand that they're busy people because they're attorneys. So, and then that'll give you a little more time. If it's a complicated contract, a much more complicated contract, she's talking about a year lead time, and I've not seen anything quite go a year, but I've seen a contract take almost that long. So just think about that kind of thing. When we are talking about important things to think about under guidelines, we're going to also think about gift cards. And I say this because a few years ago we were almost banned from ever having gift cards in the School of Law, being reimbursed for them or purchasing them. And this basically has to do with payroll tax, sales tax, and the fact that gift cards could be construed as compensation. So they finally said, yes, you can do gift cards for contests, drawing, that kind of thing. So your event has how to get people to your event. Well, we're going to do a drawing, and we have 5 gift cards. What you will need to provide is the name of those individuals so that our finance department can track them, because once they get to $600, that's now a payroll tax event. And we also need to know how those individuals were selected. So was it a raffle? Was the first 5 people in the door got one? That kind of thing. Just to show that it's not some form of gratitude or tipping. I say that because, again, gratitude, tipping, thank you is a form of compensation, and that will trigger a payroll tax event. So keep that in mind. The other thing we cannot do with gift cards at all is buy a gift card, give it to someone to go to Dillon's to buy products for an event, or let's say meat for a barbecue that we're going to have as an event. That's a big no-no. So I would hate to see you do that and then not get reimbursed, and that's no fun for us to see on our side at all. So our next section is about the WSBA allocated funds. So this is an area that Nicole, the treasurer of WSBA, knows very well. We have put together some videos, and I am going to let her speak on that when I am done. Hopefully I'll be done really quickly. So we're going to kind of skip down and look at agency account, the agency account heading. So this is the one that's a bank account. So we have something in the school law called FOPL. It's an acronym for how we code expenses and revenue to particular entities. So in a case where it's an agency account, it's pretty easy because there's really only two numbers you need to know. All agency accounts for student organizations are an 800,000 number, no comma, and then the account number that starts with 29. So if you don't know it, contact Debbie or I, or Corey, I believe, has access. I'm sorry, I should have, also anybody who wasn't here yesterday. Corey and Donna are both in the Dean's Suite, incredibly helpful. We will pick on Corey in a few minutes when we get to agency account forms, signature forms. So in order to access your funds, this is what we're talking about. You will need to make sure that you have an up-to-date signature account form on file with the business office, with the finance department. So this is the only way you will get access to your funds, assuming that your treasurer, your vice president, and your president are all on that form with the approved signature. That is coordinated mostly by Corey. I can help you with that, or Debbie can help you with that if you are in a big hurry. As far as getting to our money, so the disbursements, we're using this year a new form called a dynamic form. I actually think it's a little bit easier because it's a little bit of a no-brainer. We have not only online instructions here, but video instructions, so that will be much helpful depending on how you like to learn. If you have any questions with that, I'm not going to walk you through all that. You all are adults and you're doing lots of reading, so I know you know how to read. So, but I just wanted to let you know that as far as that goes, if you are seeking a reimbursement, our goal is to get students reimbursed as quickly as possible. The video is less than 9 minutes, and it'll give you the instructions on how to fill it out. And it will tell you exactly who are required signatures as well. I wanted to talk about those specifically if we can find number 5 under there. That talks about supporting documentation. So you're going to have to upload an attachment that's either a receipt or an invoice or an email that has maybe a confirmation, that kind of thing. So I wanted to get into what Debbie was talking about with itemized receipts. These are the ones that are going to show the vendor name, the payment amount, the date, and the name of the item purchased or the description. Now there are times when we go to funny little gas stations, so everybody's seen it come through, and it doesn't have the name of the vendor, it has the date and the amount, and that's it. If you have something that comes like that and it just has your last 4 digits, say, of your credit card, there is a way that we generally don't use credit cards as support for payments that you have actually paid for something. But in certain cases, we can use a redacted credit card statement of yours to prove, yes, this was my credit card, this is how much it was. I know not everything is on this receipt, so. But again, redacted would be good because that makes me nervous when there's privacy issues that come up. For your receipts, we don't want to highlight anything. You can scan it, you can take a photo of it, but try not to highlight because at the end, they're going to scan all these documents, and highlighted data sometimes gets blacked out or grayed out so that it's difficult to read. So try not to highlight it. You can circle it, you can underline, you can put an arrow, anything like that. For online orders, so, we're going to be using a lot of online orders now. Accounts payable is asking us to provide documentation in some form to show that it was delivered. So you may get a notification on your phone if you could print it out or screenshot it. But generally speaking, you're going to get an email or something a little more data friendly to be able to provide to show that it was delivered. They will need if the order that you place just kind of shows here's the amount, and it doesn't actually show paid. This is when we can again use the redacted credit card statement. So it must show payment was made and that the item was delivered, which is really just bottom line. So for these kind of reimbursements, we are trying to allow for 2 weeks of processing time, but the routing for the dynamic form will be automatic for approval. So you won't have to print something out, email it to someone, tell them to email it to someone else. It'll just automatically happen. So we've talked about how to get to your money. So the best part is, what about money that you get, right? So are we fundraising? Are we selling items? Maybe we're selling t-shirts to members, that kind of thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about deposits. Oh, dues are another one. So ticket sales are another one. So this seems counterintuitive to fundraise for your student organization and have to collect tax. But the state of Kansas believes that unless it's a service or a donation, sales tax has to be deducted and forwarded to them. So this includes tickets, it includes selling pies, selling plants. The only thing, again, is a service that doesn't require sales tax. When collecting, let's just say cash or checks. I know where we are now, and Debbie talked about Venmo yesterday, but we're just going to pretend like we don't have Venmo, and we're just going to talk about cash and checks. We suggest that if you're tabling somewhere and you're collecting money for dues, t-shirts, whatever, you want to make sure that you count that cash, put it in an envelope, write the amount, write your name and the date, and give it to somebody else to confirm that. That way there's two people that is on one document. If you don't have any place to put it, we hope that you don't put it in your laptop bag, in your purse, in your car. We would rather you bring it to us and we can put it in our vault, or we can keep it for safekeeping otherwise. So we've been here long enough to see almost everything happen, including laptops being stolen, cars being broken into, that kind of thing. We would hate for safekeeping to be on your part instead of on ours. So put that on our shoulder. We'll be happy to take that over. We are working with the finance office on an electronic payment portal, and we're still coming along with that. So we will update you if and when we get that rolling while you all are here. We'll cross our fingers. When you collect those cash and checks, if you have like a combination, it's really nice if you say $50 in cash and we have $50 in checks, that kind of thing. And then write the name of your organization and your name on the front before you give it to us to put in the vault. So if you can imagine from our end, we walk in the vault and there's $100 and we don't know who it's from. So that's kind of helps us. We also suggest that if you're selling anything, so you're going to have to pay for t-shirts, you're collecting all the money for the t-shirts, make sure you keep good records about who purchased the t-shirts, who's received the t-shirts, who has paid and who hasn't paid. If anybody needs help with setting up a spreadsheet, I love setting up spreadsheets for that stuff.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And to be clear, that example you just gave, when we initially get those, are we allowed to use funds from the student org accounts to buy things like t-shirts or something like that?
Yeah, that's really between you and WSBA. Okay. I've seen it done, but I would rather you find out from your treasurer that that's okay, or that that's really part of what your organization wants to do.
Sure.
So we're going to jump ahead a little bit now about sales tax. So what we have seen happen before is marketing will say, hey, I can get you t-shirts for $12.12 each. So you think that's great, and we don't want our any profit into our organization. So we're going to sell them to the students for $12.12 each. Then the invoice comes and it has shipping, and then we have to deduct sales tax. So there is a sales tax form. We'll kind of get to it. Looks like a few minutes here. That will kind of help you with how much sales tax do I need to collect, or hey, it's okay, we've decided to charge $20 for those $12.12 sales tax, but we need to deduct sales tax out of that $20. So we're not going to take $12.12 times 0.0915, the tax rate for Shawnee County, Kansas, and we're just going to take it out of the whole $20 that the individual who's buying the shirt gives us. There is a calculator that will help you with that, and you can always email me. The other person that I think is Debbie. Debbie's pretty good at this too. She doesn't think she is, but she is. So,
Do
but
we
I
have to like resell the shirts too? Like if we wanted to have like order a bunch of shirts and then like members, like you get a shirt, or like if we get shirts, you guys wanted to. I'm sorry again.
No, that's
I
okay.
think that's a question for the treasurer. If we don't like want an expenditure just to shirts or something like that, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. Like
yes. So if as far I've seen this happen where we're not going to sell shirts. Part of the funding that was been provided from WSBA is going to go to us providing shirts for all of our members. That's completely up to you, and again, between you and WSBA or you and your other members. So you just want to make sure, particularly if it's agency account funds, not WSBA funds, that you have the funds in the account.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
So hopefully I answered that. Let's see. So once you have, let's just say we've got all our money, we've got our deposit form created because we've got instructions right here. Send us a copy. So some people like to just take it right over to Morgan. That's fine. We would appreciate a copy just in case there's questions later. So you can email it to us. You can just put a copy in my mailbox. Mailboxes are in the library behind the circulation desk. In a little room. You can put it in my box, Debbie's box, whatever. But we would appreciate, so that when the treasurer is trying to reconcile, we can kind of figure out where that money came from. Let's see. Okay, we talked about the sales tax. There is a link to a sales tax calculator. And yes, would you want to open that? Will that cause a problem for you?
Sure.
Okay. So with the sales tax calculator, I looked at this earlier, and what we are probably looking for the most is that top calculation, and what it's really going to show is there's your $20. Out of your $20, we need to send $1.67 to the state of Kansas, and so our real profit into our agency account, it will be $18.33. So that's just something that you have to keep in mind. So. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So we talked about donations and sponsorships into the account. Those are not subject to sales tax, nor are services. So we're going to get into the third type of funding that you all have access to, hopefully, and those are the departmental funds. So those are the amounts that Dean Leisinger talked about yesterday. One of the centers, maybe the PDO, or the law clinic, they will be able to sponsor you. And there is a form for that, and as well as a video of instructions for you to be able to fill that out correctly. Again, any of this, if you have a problem with any of this, you can sure email any of us. We have an email address that is just for all of us that actually deal with these kind of things, called accounting@washburnlaw.edu. So it may seem a little counterintuitive because almost everybody's email address ends in .washburn.edu or @washburn.edu, but this is Washburn Law, so we're special, we get that. So we're gonna look a little bit at some travel tips. I'm not the travel guru. Corey is the travel guru, Corey Payne in the Dean Suite, but I'll tell you a little bit about this. If you will be traveling, you will want to complete the online travel packet. So she's got a nice packet that has kind of everything in it, and email it to accounting@washburnlaw.edu. And then you'll want to do that at least 6 to 8 weeks before you travel. That way we can get the arrangements made for you. Itemized for your travel, student travel for the School of Law. We want to talk again about itemized receipts. We know all about that now. This will be required for meal reimbursement. I don't know if you've heard whispers about a per diem. There is no longer a per diem for meals. So if you want to be reimbursed for your meals, keep track of those receipts. Also be aware that for meals, the university has a maximum tip amount of 20% of the subtotal, so before tax amount. That's all that will be reimbursed to you. So most of us get a receipt or get a check at a restaurant, and we just add our 20% to the bottom line total. This is a different calculation, so you'll want to take the tax out, see how much that is, and then you can, of course, tip as much as you want, but you'll only be reimbursed for up to 20% of that subtotal pre-tax amount. So after you have returned, there's also a $50 per day maximum of that. So the $20 per diem sounds like it would be easy, but it's really hard to eat on $20 a day. So it's kind of a good thing now that we've got at least $50 that you can be reimbursed for in meals. And again, no alcohol. Sorry about that. If you have a meal that is included in your conference registration, let's say a dinner, you won't be reimbursed for a different meal for that same time. So don't get a dinner at a conference registration and decide you're going to go out at 11 o'clock and think that you'll get some money off that. They're not going to reimburse you. You can do it, but we won't be reimbursed for it. So 2 days after you return, please provide us with the detailed travel receipts. Send them to our accounting email address, and we'll get that processed for you. We do have a couple other restrictions that you can read about on funds from student fees. So the WSBA funds that they're allocating for you is from student fees. So because that's university funding, then there are restrictions on that. We're going to hop down a little bit to food and beverage. So this is ordering food, and I'm sure you've all heard this already, but I'm going to reiterate it. Food cannot be brought in for a group meeting that is not either Glory Days or Chartwell's. And Glory Days is really through Chartwell's, but we can order directly from Glory Days. You can bring your individual lunches in, but under our contract, anything else is not allowed. Off-site, go for it. You can do whatever you want, but this is for on campus. So we have a couple of ways for you to order from Glory Days and Chartwell. So we have a couple of forms. On those forms, they're going to require you to provide the FOPL. So the FOPL, again, is how we are accounting for your expenses and how they kind of get to your organization. It's a acronym for fund, organization, account number, program code, activity code. That's very important for WSBA funds. And then the last one is location, which we don't use here at the School of Law. So in summary, plan early, as everything in life, as you already know because you're law school students. Stay on top of your financial responsibilities, and you're going to have a stress-free year. Any questions? Do we have anything online? For Zoom? No? Okay.
Julie, will you remind them the time frame for ordering foods at least?
At least 1 week in advance. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
And if they will please, they're fillable PDFs, so if you will please type it in there, because it will do all the math and tell you exactly how much you're going to be spending.
Yeah.
So
And you'll
repeat that. So
yes, you'll want to place your order at least 1 week in advance, and make sure that you use the fillable form. It will calculate everything that you need, and don't print it out, write on it, and then submit it. it'd be better just to have everything calculated, and that way you know for your organization how much you've committed to. So, anything else you can?
And that's a different email address.
Yeah, that's the order food at Washburn Law.
That's the order food at washburnlaw.edu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Nicole so she can speak on the WSBA forms that we talked about. All right. Thank you.
Hello. One other aside on the pizza forms, it will help you to speed up the amount of time it takes for Corey to process them if you send them to me first. That way I can make sure that you have your focal information on there, and then I'll put my signature on it, and that indicates to Corey that I've already confirmed that the funds are in your WSBA account if you're using WSBA money for it, so that she doesn't have to then get in touch with me and do that, so it speeds it up. So for the forms, our preference on WSBA funds is going to be that you use the pre-purchasing option, mostly because then you're not spending your own money and waiting for the university's reimbursement process. So we'll start with the forms that you use for pre-purchasing. You can have pre-purchasing made for places like Amazon and Staples, where you order it online, it comes shipped to the law school, and then Donna and Corey have it for you in the Dean's Suite, or if you want, you can ask them to forward it to WSBA and we'll keep it for you in the WSBA office until you can pick it up. That way you don't have to shell out any money up front. And if you're using your WSBA funds for one of those school ordering accounts, we can also make purchases tax exempt. Now your agency funds are not going to be able to be tax exempt on the purchasing regardless of whether you order it through that school account, but you can use your WSBA funds tax exempt if you're doing it that way. So for the online ordering, there are two forms available. One is for the ones that you order from their website and you've got a link to the item that you want to purchase. When you fill in the form for that, if you don't mind to do that first form, the WSBA online vendors. And like the pizza, this is a fillable PDF. If you need to, you can print it off and do a hard copy, but it'll be a lot faster processing if you do it on the electronic version. And then you can sign it electronically as well. We accept the Adobe certificates for signatures, so you don't have to worry about any paper. So up at the top of the form, you'll have the name of your student org. The purchase payable to is the vendor that you're buying it from, so like Amazon or Staples or Sam's Club. And then you don't need to worry about the mailing address on the payee if you're doing something that's strictly online and it's a pre-purchase. If you are seeking reimbursement for something that you purchased, that's when we need the address, and that'll be whoever we are wanting to get the money back to. If we are sending something to do an invoice that you're paying for a deposit or a venue, something like that, and the vendor wants the check sent to them as opposed to being paid online with a card, then you'll supply the address that you want that check mailed to. For the date request submitted, that's going to be the date that you send it to me. And then the amount requested will be your total. If it's not going to be a tax exempt purchase, you want that total to be inclusive of tax. If it is a tax exempt purchase and you've confirmed that it is eligible for tax exempt purchasing, then you don't need to include the tax on that one. And then down below on the date needed, you want to make sure that you put in the date that you need to have it in your hands. That way, especially if it's something that we're ordering from Amazon or Staples, then we can confirm that the shipping time that's going to be on there will get it here in time for you. The amount will be for each individual link item. Even if you want 3 or 4 of that item, it just needs one line item for each item itself, and then you'll put the total amount for the item itself. And then down below, the links section will correspond to each of the lines above. So the first line above is the first line on the links. And if you just want to copy the link, paste it in there, that's the easiest way to do it. And then down at the bottom on the signature, you'll have the signature of the individual who is making the request. Usually that's going to be the organization treasurer if it's a pre-purchase, and then a verifying officer. That can be any other officer in your organization. So president, vice president, anybody that you have in your constitution as an officer is acceptable here. And then below that line, you guys don't need to worry about filling any of that out. Once you send it to me, then I'll get the information listed in. The lines that has the fund, org account, program, and activity, that's that focal that we were talking about earlier, and so I'll add those in because some of it will be unique to what you're purchasing and your group. And then I'll add my signature to it and forward it to have it processed. If you get it to me early in the day, early being like before noon, then I can make sure that it gets submitted to where it needs to go by the end of the business day for that day. If something comes in and it's after 4 o'clock, there's a good chance it won't be processed until the next day, so keep that in mind when you're looking at those shipping times. And then if we can go back and do the other form, the local vendors. So local vendors will be vendors who you're walking into the store to make the purchase. So something like Sam's or Dillon's, we're going to consider those to be online vendors since you're ordering from the website, even if you're picking it up in person. The local vendors will be just for something that you can't order from their website, but they are in town. And so for those, you'll fill in all of the same information that you would for the online, but you don't need to supply the links. And then if there is a specific person that you have been dealing with at that vendor, you want to make sure to put that in either on the payee as a note or on the purpose. And then on the purpose, you want to make sure that you tell us what it is that you are using that for that's relevant to your org. Because when we process it through, it'll go through WSBA, it'll go through Corey and Donna, and then it'll go over to Morgan, and they need to look at it and say, oh, yeah, this is something that's a valid purchase. As far as WSBA is concerned on what you can use your money for, your WSBA funds can be used for any relevant organization purpose that's going to benefit the members of your organization or the student body as a whole. Again, we can't do alcohol, but other than that, as long as it's not something that is prohibited in the organization's constitution, it's good to go. And that includes, if you're going to resell things, or if you're just going to give them out to students, or when we do the org tabling, if you want to get candy or decorations for the table or for your board, any of those things are fair game. If you're going to have an event and supply food, that's good too. If you are partnering with another org or with a center, when you send me the purchase form or the pizza order form, tell me how much is going to be taken out of the funds for each organization. And you can say, I want a 50-50 split, or I want $10 from this one, 15 from that. However you want to divide it up is whatever suits your fancy. Just tell me what it is, and we'll get that on there. If you ever have a question about how much you have available in your WSBA allocated funds, send me an email or stop me in the hall. I can look it up for you. When we get our new treasurer, they'll be able to do the same. If you would like to have an Excel spreadsheet to help you track the spending for your org, we have one that can be sent out. You're also welcome to do your own, or keep a paper ledger, whatever is going to work for you, but we do have one available if you'd like to do that. And then if you need to have something that for some reason you cannot have it paid for up front and you need to be reimbursed for it later, we do still have the reimbursement process. It's the same as it has been in prior years. The form looks exactly the same as it does for the pre-purchase minus the word pre-purchase on there. And it would be the same as the local vendor form.
We have it.
Okay. We will get that one to you, and then it's also on the WSBA website. For the reimbursement, we need to have the name of the person, probably someone in your org who has shelled out the money. We need to have their win, and we need to have the address where they want that check sent to. If they don't want the check mailed, we can request to have it held at Morgan Hall at the office for pickup, but we have to make that selection before we turn it in. So once we send it off, we don't get to make changes. Oh, perfect. Okay. And so the top field, it's exactly the same. It's just after the fact, this is what we have. When you are sending in the form, you'll want to do those same receipt documentation processes that Julie talked about. And the same as with that, please don't highlight. Whenever I get them, I go through and I add little purple circles around the things that are important for them. That way it goes through and it's got all the information that needs to be listed. We need to make sure that we have the total amount that you are requesting to be reimbursed matching the total amount that is on the receipt. And then it needs to be itemized just like it does for the agency account spending with Julie. If you have questions about whether or not a receipt is acceptable, you can shoot me a copy of it and just say, hey, do I need other stuff? And I'll let you know if it's got everything that we need on there. And then once you turn it in, it's got the same processing time as it does for reimbursement if you're using agency funds, which is hopefully only a couple weeks, but I've seen it take longer. So if at all possible, please use the pre-purchase option. And if you have any events that you're doing large spending amounts and you're taking some from WSBA funds and some from your agency account funds, that's fine too. We can work together to get the forms filled out. If you're filling out anything for your agency funds and you have questions about what was it that Julie meant when she said this, let me know. I can help you out with it if it's a time when one of them is not available. So, any questions?
A reminder would be some of the receipts that you get are thermal imaging, so scan them right away because they eventually fade.
Yes.
Will you repeat that for the Zoom?
So when you get receipts, if they are on that thermal paper, make sure that you scan them in quickly so that they don't fade, because they will fade over time with the thermal imaging. Also, on doing your reimbursements, if you can please try to submit those within 2 weeks of when the item was delivered, if you've ordered it or taken possession of it. That way we can make sure that it gets processed through your university before the cutoff for that reimbursement.
And
Yes.
so, are there any kind of rules, like if I'm the president, I can't just go out and spend $50 and ask to be reimbursed? Like, are there, obviously, because that's just rude to my other, but I get that. But is there also a rule that tells me that I need other members' consent? Like, do you guys, when I ask you for money, I can't just go willing, I need to consult with my members and all that. Is that just kind of a decor thing? Or is there an actual rule that tells me, make sure you have check off or something,
So the secondary signature on the form is meant to be an indication that you have the consent
cool.
of the group
Okay,
to do
perfect.
it.
So me and Dusty should sign it.
Right.
Okay, perfect.
And then
Sorry.
should you misappropriate funds from your org, then that would be where we get into honor code territory.
Yes, that's not something, and that's what I want to make, okay, sorry I missed the double signature.
No, that's all right.
Earlier, perfect, thank you.
And also, should you have one of your org members, specifically your org treasurer, become the WSBA treasurer, then your 2 officer signatures need to not include that treasurer unless you have only 2 officers.
Okay.
A couple of things to wrap up, and we'll see if we have any questions online, and we may get out of here early. So the website is been tweaked a lot this year, so if you find it difficult to find something or you wish something else was out there, please let us know, because it's for you. We want to make it useful for you. On the emails, Nicole is really good, but she's a full-time student as well. So please remember, and on the site it says, and on the forms, send those to WSBA treasurer at washburnlaw.edu. Don't just send emails to Nicole Smith. That way she knows she's checking her WSBA treasurer emails to get your stuff processed in the timelines that she had mentioned. And then also the accounting at washburnlaw.edu and the order food at washburnlaw.edu. Those 2 accounts are monitored by many people. And that way, if you just sent something straight to Corey and she's in meetings all day or she's out for the day, there's multiple people checking them. So that's why we really want to use the generic emails. That way also, if we have any staffing changes, things continue processing and don't get misplaced. But don't ever hesitate if you send something in and you haven't heard back from Nicole or someone in the dean's office or the accounting office. in my opinion, it's not rude to say, hey, just double checking that you got this. Now, please wait at least 3 or 4 hours before you send those follow-up, but we're here to help you, is what I'm trying to say, and that's why we did the generic email, so we have multiple people checking. Do we have any questions online or in the room?
And our general rule is if you submit it before 4 p.m., it will be processed same day. If it's submitted after 4, it will wait till the next day.
So for those of you online, Corey was just reminding everyone that if you submit something before 4 p.m., we will try and get that processed the same day. If it's after 4 p.m., it'll be processed the next business day. And that's a good reminder. The dean's office is open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and try to have someone there over the noon hour as well. I mentioned yesterday, but again, I'm in the office Tuesday and Thursday, 7 a.m. to 3:30. Some days you'll see me here, other times. Otherwise, I'm always available by email or phone. And Julie, do you want to reiterate? Julie's part-time, remember?
Yeah, and my office is 219 right across from admissions. I'm part-time, so I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm on campus on Thursday. So generally in the middle of the day, if you think between 10 and 3, you should be able to see me. And if you email me during those hours, I try really hard to reply to you if I have the information. So if I don't have the information, I'll usually reply and say, hey, I don't have it, but I'm going to get it for you, just letting you know. Okay.
So Julie was just, for those of you on Zoom, letting everyone know she works Tuesdays through Thursday, usually middle part of the day, and she will reply to your emails as quickly as she can. If she doesn't have the information, she'll let you know that she's doing a little bit of research and we'll get back with you. Donna, Corey, anything else you would like to add?
I have just one last really quick question.
Yes.
Do we spend our own money? Like, for instance, we just got a bulletin board and everything. If I wanted to go to spend $50, is that okay? And I don't ask anybody, right? Is there
So
a
the-
rule against that? Or
So the question, in case you can't hear it online, is about a student officer spending their own funds versus the agency funds or WSBA funds to purchase items. And in my mind, that would be considered a donation. And if you want to have real clear records, then you'd make a donation into the account and then pay for it from the account. Unless somebody has a different idea. Does Jalen want to
I'm
comment?
not thinking for events or anything, just like our bulletin board, right? Like a Michael's and buy some pay, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Is that
Dean
okay?
Lowry's going to speak to that effect.
So you're not requesting reimbursement, you're just buying something?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
for like our bulletin board.
Yeah, that would be a
Not for
Dean
like
Lowry.
events or big things, but just like a one, like, I don't care, you know? Is that okay? Or-
Dean Lowry, what are your thoughts on that?
This is a completely Dean Lowry type of question because I do stuff like that. I understand completely where you're coming from. It's just like, hey, I just want to get it. I don't want to go through the reimbursement thing. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And thank you for being willing to do it. It's great. Absolutely nothing preventing you. But, you know, you're a student, so certainly everybody should realize there is a way to get reimbursed if you want to. And if you have any questions at all, we have, obviously, you can tell from this presentation, the most helpful people around to help you with that. But to answer your actual question, go for it. I understand.
Does anyone have other questions for Dean Lowry? Would you like to say any closing remarks, Dean Lowry?
I would. Thank you so much. I want to reiterate what I just said. I don't know any place ever that I've ever worked or any school where we have more helpful finance people. And we've got a fabulous WSBA treasurer who has done so much to help everything get streamlined. The web page looks great. There's tons of work from Corey and Donna, Director White, Julie DeRosso. Thank you, Martin, for getting everything up so well. I know the students feel comfortable talking to you. If anybody has any questions for me, please email me. I will immediately ask all these people what the real answer is, and I will get back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I do concur. We have a great team here, and that's what I like to say. We are all out for the common good of you guys as students. So please know we're here to help you, where it's not egos or anything. We want to have a successful time with your organizations and with your time as students. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and we hope you enjoy being presidents and treasurers, and let us know how we can help. Thank you.